What the heck are you doing? What's this all of a sudden? It's not what? You're useless. My mother-in-law said this and then threw my phone that was in front of me. It was a perfect throw, hitting me on the forehead, and I crouched down. What did I do to deserve this? I glared back at my mother-in-law. She didn't like that one bit and kicked me even harder. You're such an impudent woman. What's your problem with me? Just then, my sister-in-law arrived. Don't you get it? You should be grateful just to be allowed to stay in this house. Get up now. She then pulled my hair and forced me to stand. Stop it, please. Don't make a scene. Come on, help me out here. Leave it to me. I couldn't understand why this was happening. Get started on dinner now. And if it's bad again, you'll hear from me. Since coming to my in-laws, I've been doing all the household chores alone. No one's going to help you. That's right. You're all alone in this world. They both started laughing in a creepy way. Maybe they're right, maybe I am all alone. Right before getting married, both my parents died in an accident. Furthermore, the original purpose of living together, my father-in-law, had also passed away. Maybe that's when my heart died. I'm home. What are you doing? You came back at just the right time. I was just teaching this woman her place in this house. Why don't you say something too? I'm tired. My husband didn't offer any help or even a word, he just hurried off to his room. This is the harsh reality of my home. Even my husband, who I hoped would be my ally, was just like this. I couldn't take it anymore. So, I planned to trap these three. I worked tirelessly from that point on. No matter how much my in-laws tormented me, I endured it. I finally made it here. I bought a house near a downtown station. And it was quite a bargain for its location, looking very neat from the outside. Of course, I intended to keep it a secret from my in-laws, but it seems they found out anyway. I can't believe you bought such a nice house without us knowing. You knew about it. Of course, I know what you're capable of. That's why I didn't want to say anything. Still, to find such a nice house within 10 minutes from the station. Yeah, it looks like this will be our house from now on. Huh? What are you surprised about? What's yours is also your husband's. Well, I might even let you live with us. Then maybe you should sleep outside. That's like treating her like a dog. Oh? I always thought of her as a talking dog. What's so funny about that? What if I refuse? That won't happen, but well, it would mean divorce, I suppose. Okay. That's a smart decision. But I won't just quietly comply. Right. This house is in your name, isn't it? Yes, but I'll change the ownership to me. No complaints allowed. I've been thinking of doing that since we decided to live together. But I have a condition too. A condition? Yes. Since we're going to live here, you don't need your old family home anymore, do you? I want it transferred to my name. Oh, that's fine. My husband asked for agreement from my mother-in-law. Since that old house is just that old, it's fine. Really? Okay. Because we have this house now. That's true. These three don't understand anything. This is all part of my plan. So, I'll give you the keys on moving day. Yeah, please do. I can't wait to live here. Right? In the meantime, we changed the ownership of each other's properties. My plan is nearing its climax. And a month later, the moving day arrived. I had handed the keys over to my husband. What's the meaning of this? My mother-in-law called in a frenzy. What's the matter? Why are you so flustered? You tricked us. Finally realized, huh? It's too late. But you were the ones who said you wanted to live in that house. Huh? How are we supposed to live in this house? That's for you to figure out. Don't joke with me. That's your home now. You did this on purpose, didn't you? Well, maybe. Anyway, good luck. I hung up the phone and headed somewhere. This operation couldn't have been done by me alone. And there's still some finishing to do. My name is Lena, and I worked as a nurse at a hospital. Having admired my mother who was a nurse, I've aspired to this profession since I was little. When I was 28, I was assigned to my current husband, Ethan, as his nurse. Lena, do you have a boyfriend? That topic again? I'm just curious. I don't. I see. Ethan had fractured his right leg in a motorcycle accident. It was a serious injury that would take 2 months to heal completely. He got along well with the other patients in his room. Thanks to Ethan's cheerful personality, what was once a gloomy hospital room is now almost too noisy. Then, a week before his discharge. Lena, I have a request. Yes, what is it? How do I say this? Normally straightforward, today he seemed restless and uneasy. Are you feeling unwell? No, it's not that. Then Ethan took a deep breath. Would you go on a date with me sometime? Really? Is that a no? I hesitated. I've been approached like this before, but honestly, none were really my type. There had been persistent ones, and I had gone on a date just once. Sure, he's a nice guy, but if it doesn't work out, I'll give up. Please. His earnestness caught me off guard, and I found myself agreeing. 2 weeks after Ethan was discharged, we went on a date. Initially, it was supposed to be just once, but before I knew it, it turned into 2, then 3 times. About a year later, Ethan formally confessed his feelings. By then, I had fallen for him, so I accepted his confession. Looking forward to our future together. Me too. Our relationship smoothly progressed, and a year passed. Then, on my 30th birthday, he proposed. I accepted Ethan's proposal, moved by his passion. After greeting my parents, we went to Ethan's family home. This was the beginning of everything. Or maybe it was all set when I accepted the proposal. You must be Lena. Ethan has really brought home someone wonderful, hasn't he? That's true. She's almost too good for Ethan. No, I'm not that. His mother's first impression was of a very calm and kind person. His father appeared stern but showed a deep conviction behind it. Ethan had a sister, but she wasn't there at that time. Thus accepted by my in-laws, I believed I would surely have a happy married life. However, that belief would soon crumble after starting our married life. We rented a place about halfway between our parents' homes. Having never lived together, I was internally nervous. It seemed Ethan felt the same, and the first week we were both cautious. But after a month, we were living worry-free. I was unsure at first. Me too. But now it's incredibly fun. Yeah. Just 3 months after we started living together. I had just returned from a night shift and was about to take a shower and nap when my phone rang. It was from the hospital where I work. Hello. The call was unbelievable. I'll be there immediately. I quickly changed and left the house. By the time I arrived at the hospital, the procedures were already done, and I was led to a separate room. I had been here many times before. It's the last room I wanted to enter. Why has this happened? There lay my parents, no longer moving. I collapsed to my knees. They had died. A drunk driver had crashed into them. And by the time I reached the hospital, the situation was dire. Ethan also arrived soon after hearing the situation. Lena! No way! At that moment, I was too confused to think straight. Ethan gently embraced me, helping me regain my sanity. Are you feeling better? Yeah, thanks. I never thought this would happen. If my parents were alive, we would have been planning to have the ceremony next month. Being an only child, my parents were really looking forward to it. Now I won't be able to show them my wedding dress. Every time I realize my parents are gone, I can't stop crying. But I didn't have time to grieve slowly. I'll help too. Thank you. So just let me know whatever you need. Preparations for my parents' funeral started immediately. With Ethan's help, we were able to conduct the funeral without any problems. And my mother-in-law was really worried about me. It's such a shame about your parents. Yes. And that's when I met Ethan's sister, Mia, for the first time. Like my mother-in-law, she was concerned, which almost made me cry again. I felt ashamed for thinking I had no family left. Just one thing bothered me. By the way, where's your father? The atmosphere suddenly tensed up. Did I say something wrong? Then my mother-in-law quickly smiled. He's not feeling well, I'm sorry. I see. At that time, I didn't realize how bad the situation around my father-in-law was. After the funeral, thanks to Ethan and his family, I was able to live comfortably. Losing my parents had a big impact, but I couldn't stay weak forever. My parents would have been upset seeing me like that. A year passed, and I was living my days no different from before. Can we talk? Is that okay? Yeah, what's up? Actually, my dad's not doing well. He went to the hospital, and it turns out his liver is in bad shape. So it's hard to say, but I was hoping you could take care of him. Do you mean like, care for him? Sort of. Yes, that's what it would be. It's not immediate, but we're thinking of moving in together. Moving in? Yeah, it's just him, and you're a nurse, right? It'd be reassuring if something happened. Is that okay? Honestly, I didn't feel indebted to my father-in-law. But I owed a lot to my mother-in-law and Mia, who supported me when my parents died. My answer was decided. All right. I can do it. But I have my job, so I can't be there all the time. That's more than enough. Thank you. Everything happened quickly after that. We started preparing to move immediately, and I soon terminated the lease on the room I had been living in. A week after deciding to move in, I started living at my in-laws' house. Fortunately, the distance to the hospital where I work didn't change. Once we moved in, I mainly took care of my father-in-law. Lena, you're really putting yourself out. Not at all. This was my decision. I appreciate it. At first, my mother-in-law and Mia were happy I came, but their behavior changed within a few days. Usually, my father-in-law stayed in his room, but they hardly checked on him or acted as if he was a nuisance. I realized this one night. So, what will happen to Dad? Well, he won't last long. He's ignorant about diseases. That's why you've been feeding him bad stuff for years, haven't you? That finally paid off. Glad she came. Now we don't have to see his face. Right. They were probably talking about me. But I couldn't understand why they hated my father-in-law so much. I quietly returned to my bedroom, trying not to be noticed. I debated whether to tell Ethan. As I was about to wake him up, I hesitated. What if Ethan is also in on it? That would be an even bigger problem. I decided not to tell Ethan. As I was figuring out what to do, the day came. My father-in-law collapsed at home, and I called an ambulance. I was alone at home, so I rode in the ambulance with him. On the way to the hospital, his breathing weakened, and by the time we arrived, his heart had stopped. I immediately called Ethan. I see. Sorry, but I can't leave work right now. Work? Sorry, I'm hanging up. How could he remain so calm? I also contacted my mother-in-law and Mia, but like Ethan, they did not come to the hospital. My father-in-law's death marked the beginning of the worst environment around me. The kind mother-in-law I knew was gone. She was like a completely different person. Now that he's gone, you'll follow my instructions. Mom, don't forget about me too, okay? I know. She was so different, it was hard to keep up. It seems that what I heard that night was true. They had wanted him dead. You look confused. Should I explain? That's when my mother-in-law started to tell me about the past. It turns out my father-in-law was very abusive when he was younger. Initially, my mother-in-law was the target, but eventually, my sister-in-law became a target too, which raises new questions about Ethan. By the way, Ethan saw everything we went through, and he eventually started to hate him too. Mom, enough about him. It's our time now. I'll take out my unresolved feelings on you. At that moment, I realized I was just a substitute for my father-in-law. They were taking out all their frustrations on me. I thought it was dangerous to continue this way and sought Ethan's help, but thanks. It was a short time, but I'm sure Dad is happy in the afterlife. In hell. Even Ethan couldn't be relied upon. Now I truly felt completely isolated. Get on with the cleaning already. You're such a dawdler. My mother-in-law didn't care that I was just back from a night shift. Exhausted, I cleaned the entire house. Moreover, the family home was falling apart, needing repairs everywhere. If there was a leak, I climbed into the attic to patch it up so no water would come through. But being an amateur, it would leak again. Each time, I was the one who dealt with it. Of course, I had suggested hiring a professional. But all those suggestions turned to ash. If this life continued, I would have no time to think. Unless I was sleeping, I was always doing something. It had been 6 months since my father-in-law died. Hey! Did you do the housework? I was supposed to answer, but I was so out of it I didn't know what to say. I just passed out. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. You finally woke up. The doctor says it's probably from overwork. I was really worried. I thought maybe they'd have some remorse after I collapsed. But the next moment, I realized people don't change that easily. It's good it was just overwork. Otherwise, who would clean the house? Right. And who would cook for us? You've rested enough. Let's go home now. Hey! Eventually, my in-laws forcibly took me from the hospital back to their home. This shouldn't be allowed. And my anger towards my in-laws was reaching its limit. Even if I collapsed, nothing would change in my life. Since there was no rest at home, I deliberately started coming home late. Instead of taking the train from the usual station, I decided to walk a bit. And that's when a significant change in my fate occurred. After walking past 2 stations, just as I was about to head to the station. What's this? I found a house for sale, not far from the station. It looked very neat, almost like it was newly built. While I was looking at the house, a woman in her 50s approached me. You should stay away from that house. What do you mean? The thing about that house is... I was more intrigued than shocked by her story. At the gate of the house, there was a real estate sign with an address and phone number, which I quickly noted. I remembered we had talked about moving since the family home was old. This could be useful. Later, I went to the real estate agent I had noted. And there I had another fateful encounter. Wait, you work here? It was Logan, a friend from college. Lena! What brings you here? Well, I was interested in a property. Leave it to me. So, I told Logan about the house. His expression clouded. That house is... It's okay. I already heard about it from a neighbor. Oh, you did? I'll get straight to the point. How much is it? Huh? How much are they selling that house for? Wait a sec. It's quite a bargain right now, maybe $400,000. $400,000. But maybe I could manage the mortgage. As I was thinking this. Can I ask? Yeah. Why that house? You're married, right? Yeah, that's a bit hard to say. I had been telling Logan about everything I had been through. Logan was known for being a good listener in college. Before I knew it, I had told him everything. Sorry, I got carried away and said some weird things. It's not weird at all. That's just terrible. So you need that house for your revenge, right? I guess so. Then let me help you. I'm in charge of that house, and I might be able to get you a better deal. Really? Are you sure? Of course. At that moment, I regretted why I hadn't married someone like him. Thus, I began taking steps to drag them down to hell. What are you doing? What's this all of a sudden? It's not what? You're useless. My mother-in-law said this and then threw my phone that was in front of me. It seemed to be thrown with perfect control, hitting me on the forehead, and I crouched down. What did I do to deserve this? I glared back at my mother-in-law. She didn't like that and kicked me even harder. You're such an impudent woman. What's your problem with me? Then my sister-in-law arrived. Don't you get it? You should be grateful just to be allowed to stay in this house. Get up now. She then pulled my hair and forced me to stand. Stop it, please. Don't make a scene. Come on, help me out here. Leave it to me. I couldn't understand why this was happening. Get started on dinner now. And if it's bad again, you'll hear from me. Since coming to my in-laws, I've been doing all the household chores alone. No one's going to help you. That's right. You're all alone in this world. They both started laughing in a creepy way. I'm home. What are you doing? You came back at just the right time. I was just teaching this woman her place in this house. Why don't you say something too? I'm tired. Ethan didn't offer any help or even a word, he just hurried off to his room. This is the harsh reality of my home. Even Ethan, who I hoped would be my ally, was just like this. I finally made it here. After that, Logan and I collaborated, and I decided to buy that house. Moreover, I deliberately made it obvious by placing documents related to the property in easily noticeable positions. And when I went to check the house after the purchase. I can't believe you bought such a nice house without us knowing. You knew about it. Of course, I know what you're capable of. I pretended to be surprised. Still, to find such a nice house within 10 minutes from the station. Yeah, it looks like this will be our house from now on. Huh? What are you surprised about? What's mine is also my husband's. Well, I might even let you live with us. Then maybe you should sleep outside. Sister, that's like treating her like a dog. Oh? I always thought of her as a talking dog. What's so funny about that? What if I refuse? That won't happen, but well, it would mean divorce, I suppose. All right. That's a smart decision. But I won't just quietly comply. Right. This house is in your name, isn't it? Yes, but... I'll change the ownership to me. No complaints allowed. I've been thinking of doing that since we decided to live together. But I have a condition too. A condition? Yes. Since we're going to live here, you don't need your old family home anymore, do you? I want it transferred to my name. Oh, that's fine. Ethan asked for agreement from my mother-in-law. Since that old house is just that old, it's fine. Really? Okay. Because we have this house now. That's true. These three don't understand anything. This is all part of my plan. So, I'll give you the keys on moving day. Yeah, please do. I can't wait to live here. Right. In the meantime, we changed the ownership of each other's homes. My plan is now coming to a head. And a month later, the moving day arrived. I had handed the keys over to my husband. What is this supposed to mean? A frantic call came from my mother-in-law. What's the matter? Why are you so panicked? You tricked us. Finally realized, huh? It's too late. But you were the ones who said you wanted to live in that house. Huh? How are we supposed to live in this house? That's for you to figure out. Don't joke with me. That's your home now. You did this on purpose, didn't you? Well, maybe. Anyway, good luck. I hung up the phone and headed somewhere. This operation couldn't have been done by me alone. And there's still some finishing to do. I immediately went to meet Logan to report that it had gone smoothly. So it was successful, huh? It was all thanks to your advice, Logan. It's nothing. I had asked Logan for something crucial. That was to put the family home up for sale. I wanted to truly leave them without a place to return to. and he proceeded with the procedures right away. Later, when I came to the family home to move out, I knew you'd come. The three of them had shown up. Why is this house for sale? Well, it's mine now, so I can do whatever I want, right? What even is that house? How was it? It's a nice house, isn't it? Huh? What's nice about that sham of a house? That's right. The house I bought looked nice from the outside, but was a mess inside and not immediately livable. And that house is creepy. I didn't miss that comment. Exactly, that house had a family murder-suicide a little while ago. It's quite famous in that neighborhood. That's why. The neighbors were looking at me weird on moving day. It might be cursed. Don't mess with me. Ethan then threatened me with his fist. If you do that, it's straight to the police. Well, it looks like that's where you're going now. Huh? I pulled out my phone and played a recording. It was a recording of Ethan, my mother-in-law, and my sister-in-law continuously harassing me. I had decided to gather evidence ever since I planned to buy that house. And here it was. This is undeniable proof, right? What are you going to do with it? I'm thinking of taking this to the police. And you told me it would be better if we split, right? That's... So, I'll grant you that wish, Ethan. You're happy now, right? Wait a minute. If you do that, you might get arrested. But that's what you deserve. Also, since you can't live here, please disappear quickly. I left the three of them standing there, stunned, and walked away. Later, this incident quickly spread to my ex-husband's company. Well, after everything they did, it was to be expected. The facts about the affairs and the family's mistreatment of the bride were almost all exposed. But the impact wasn't just that. Maybe there will be a claim for damages. Word got out to the clients who value trust above all, and it seems they terminated their contracts. Keeping my ex-husband employed was now just a liability. Eventually, he was forced to resign. And with no severance pay. Furthermore, he struggled to find new employment, and the family relations were at their worst. He showed up in front of me about 6 months after the divorce. What are you doing here? It was right after he left the company. The man standing before me was my ex-husband. He had been average built half a year ago, but now was gaunt to the point of being unrecognizable. Just one look, and it was clear he had been through a lot. Well, he should be grateful that's all that happened. After the divorce, I had demanded a decent alimony from him. Of course, from my mother-in-law and sister-in-law too. When I consulted the police, they proposed a settlement, which I accepted. This must be their toughest time. How are your mother and sister? They're managing somehow. They're both always at home. Always? Does that mean they're not working? Yeah. I wonder how deep their laziness goes. I was so appalled I was at a loss for words. They always say they want to return to their old lives. I couldn't help but interject when I heard that. You're not working, so it's impossible. What about you? No, I've been really busy. From his response, I realized. My ex-husband was not working either. They really were terrible people. It was definitely right to divorce. I expected my ex-husband to retort, but he didn't. Instead, he apologized. I've really caused you a lot of trouble. I'm sorry. What do you mean by that? I was wrong. I should have ignored my mother and sister and stood by your side. And you think I would forgive you for that? Please! I'm thinking of cutting ties with those two. That should give you peace of mind, right? So, let's live together again, okay? A heavy sigh escaped me. Unfortunately, I've got someone 100 times better than you now. So there's absolutely no way we could get back together. Even if I were single, I'd still refuse. My ex-husband began to plead more desperately. Such performances meant to evoke sympathy no longer worked on me. Honestly, I felt like kicking him away right then. It's embarrassing to see you like this. You look foolish. You've changed a lot. Nothing has changed. Maybe you just had too many illusions? Where did I go wrong? Well, marrying you was the initial mistake. But don't worry, you still have your family. With those words, I left him there and walked away. I went home, and never again did he contact me. Later, an opportunity arose to learn about the situation of my ex-husband and his family. It came through a report from a friend. That's what happened? I just happened to see it, but it was a mess. That bad? Yeah. According to my friend, they were struggling greatly. It was no surprise. The three jobless individuals were living as if each day was a battle for survival. Eventually, that house had to be sold, but due to its bad reputation, it fetched next to nothing. Living in a cramped room, they had no private space. As a result, fights increased, becoming so frequent that they became well known in the neighborhood. Yeah, just the other day, I saw a police car stopped by their place. What could they possibly have done? I could vividly imagine my mother-in-law and sister-in-law yelling at each other. I had no desire to meet them, but I was somewhat curious to see how they were living in their hell. It'd be interesting if they were heading for utter ruin. On the other hand, my life now was like heaven compared to before. My first marriage had been a terrible experience. Even now, the hardships of that time sometimes haunt my dreams, but I'm not pessimistic. That's because the person beside me truly loves and supports me. Shall we go? Yeah. You look really happy. Did something good happen? Well, yeah. Just having Logan by my side is enough for me. In my previous marriage, I might have demanded too much. Perhaps that was a reason for its failure. So this time, I'm making sure not to make the same mistakes. I'm fully committed to protecting my current place. Today's weather is clear. It's a perfect day to reaffirm my resolution.